Hey everybody, it is Matt. Wrestling with Whiskey Weekly is back. The show with the title still way too long to handle and way too hard to say, whatever. Anyway, appreciate you being here as always. This week, special night, but it's a very special episode. We have if you saw social media, we are here talking about BTAC, the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. This is one of the most sought after sets of really. Each one of these bottles is sought after, let alone the entire set. Rare, price gouging out the yin yang, so on, so forth. These are very, very exclusive, and we were lucky this year. I've been shut out a couple of years in a row. We were lucky this year to get samples, and so we thought I'd bring them here to Wrestling with Whiskey Weekly. And not only that, I couldn't just do it alone. I know I've got bourbon buddies out there. I've got people I got to share this with. So I had to invite a friend. And when it comes to whiskey and my friends, there's only really one I can think of. So thank you very much to the people who are here in the live chat. I see LJ from Twitch is in here. Hell yes. Broken Enigma, welcome in. But yeah, whether you're watching this, whether you're watching the replay on YouTube, I hope we can give you a little bit of insight. We're two huge bourbon nerds, bourbon geeks, drink a lot, so you have at least that. We may not be, paid experts yet, but we drink a lot of whiskey, so, we have something to say. But without further ado, let me jump over to the interview corner and bring in my good buddy, Greg. Greg, what is going on, man?
This is special. When you called me about this one, this is, when the antique collection comes out, it means the weather's getting a little cooler. It means the leaves are changing color. It means bourbon season is here.
Yep.
And I'm thrilled. This is something everybody looks forward to every year. And the fact that Buffalo Trace has entrusted you and us to review these is not taken lightly, man. So thank you for having me into the Whiskey Lounge, bro.
Oh yeah, dude, absolutely. This is some kind of the thing. I feel like as bourbon nerds and stuff like that, we've and by the way, on your little nameplate, you'll see it later. I did put WWE ring announcer / bourbon geek Greg Hamilton.
Yes.
So
yes, and you get that on TV now.
Yeah, but yeah, and we've always wanted to I started doing this thing. I'd get a sample here and there. People like Bardstown have been awesome with us and everything like that, but. Yeah. The BTAC and those limited edition samples have always been, they're so limited and they're very particular with who they send those out to. And I've tried before and it's one of those things I was on the treadmill when I got the email of the announcement and I was like, oh, great, okay. If I could, please, thank you very much, blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, this year, finally they hit me back with the positive answer. And so here we are.
Well, we're going to do them justice, that's for sure, to make sure that you are on many a list going forward.
Yes,
because this
100%.
This is special.
So, we got 5 whiskeys to taste through. Everybody knows we have we'll go through them just really quick by name. So you have the 2 Ryes, you have the Thomas H. Handy, which is usually a 6-year. I have the whole press release. Oh, it's in the other room. I'll go grab it really quick. A 6-year barrel, but that's barrel proof rye. Then you have the Sazerac 18-year, which is 90 proof, but 18 years old. Hot damn. The oldest bottle in the collection.
Yeah.
And then we get into the bourbons with Eagle Rare 17-year, obviously 17 years old, 101 proof. And then we get into George T Stag, which is barrel proof, and this year is a 15-year batch. And finally, William Larue Weller, which is also barrel proof, wheated bourbon. This year is right at about 12 years for the batch, cask strength, part of the Weller line, the infamous Weller line, as it were.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to get crap. I am going to run. Greg, do me a favor, talk to the fine people, and I'm gonna go grab the press release so I know what I'm talking about.
I'll talk to the people. All right, everybody. So just me and you here. I can't see you because that's on Matt's side, but. Thank you for joining us at Wrestling with Whiskey in the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection tasting. This, again, is incredibly, incredibly rare and special. This is a yearly release for those that don't know, and they're unicorns that are sought after. Very, very difficult to find. This is one of those things that you want to befriend your local liquor store owner to try to get a bottle of, or get in raffles if you can. But this is definitely a lot. This is a lineup of heavy hitters. And Matt, you know what's funny? As I'm putting this together, as we're sitting down and I'm lining up the bottles, I got like this really cool internal deja vu flashback of when we did the bourbon bracket tournament, because we got the bottles lined up right and the glasses, and I sat down and I'm waiting, you and I are chatting, and I'm like, wow, this feels, but we get to actually taste and know what they are together and talk. But but that's where that started. And now look, man, what you're getting sent.
I know, it's crazy, dude. I thought I should let especially Tony Frank. Of Cincinnati City Beat fame is in the chat right now.
Woo!
Big shout out to Tony. Tony's awesome. Friend of Greg's from Cincinnati, but works for the Cincinnati City Beat publication. They do great things about food and culture all around Cincinnati, which is exploding.
And big bourbon nerd as well.
What's that?
He's a big bourbon nerd as well.
Oh, huge, yes.
Yeah. He and I are tasting
you tell me stories. I still haven't been to his office, but you tell me stories about Tony's office, and I still gotta go.
It's the best speakeasy in the city. Let's put it that way.
Hell, yes. You know what? I actually might. You know what might help me? My audio is a little faint. I'm gonna jump on my headphones here.
Okay.
Just to make sure I hear you. Tony with that cheers. Good for you, Tony.
Check 1, 2. Does that help? You getting me?
Say that again, buddy.
You getting me? Check 1, 2.
Oh, baby, yeah, this is better. See, I see now why people wear headphones, right? So, before we get started, have you thought about? I've been kind of going back and forth all day. What kind of order do we want to go? Like rye bourbon? Do we want to go by proof? Age? What are you thinking?
I like the rye to bourbon personally.
Okay.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Do you want to start younger but barrel proof, or should we start with the 90 proof, to maybe kind of ease in?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's ease in. I like that.
All right. So to be fair, I did have a palate warmer of a nice little standard Buffalo Trace pour right before we got live.
I almost texted you 30 minutes ago, like, bro, do you know how hard it is not to sit here and have a pour right now? I almost texted you that.
You got to warm it up because you don't want to be coughing right on your first one.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so we'll start with the Saz 18 then.
Okay, sounds good.
So let me, while you pour it out and get yours, I'll read a little bit from the press release for our folks in the audience. So the Saz 18 last year was named Best Rye Whiskey 11 years and older by Jim Murray. I don't hold a lot of stock in Jim Murray, no offense to Jim, but accolade nonetheless.
Shot over the bow by Rick.
Straight shooting. This one, obviously 18 years old. We already know that. 90 proof. Already know that. These were filled in the spring of 2002, and we're on the third floor of Warehouse K. So, pretty simple, pretty straightforward for Saz 18. I did, as a little preview, I watched Fred Minnick's review of this the other night. And just to get his, because he can be a prickly critic sometimes. And just for the people at home, I'm going to show, there we go. There's our Saz 18. 18 years old, 90 proof. But I'm excited about this one. Like I told you, I took a little whiff this afternoon, just to kind of, and some of the ryes in this year's collection, man, are pretty outstanding. On the note, that was just in the bottle. I haven't even put it in Glencairn yet.
Huh. Yeah, I've got mine in here now, swirling. And this is 90 proof, you said?
Mm-hmm. It's always, yep, Saz 18 is always, which to be fair, I have found, and I don't know if this is something you've ever played with, but especially older, like whiskeys in the teens, especially like bourbons and things like that, when they're actually watered down to like below 100 proof, I feel you get a lot more of the nuance from the wood and those subtle flavors. So like, for example, like Knob Creek 12 year, I love that it's 100 proof and not like 120 like the single
Right.
barrels.
Opens it up a little bit. You get some different nuances.
Yeah, 100%. And like I I love barrel proof and being able to water it down myself, but for like older 15, 16, 17, when it's somewhere 100 proof or less, I think you get a lot of the barrel nuance that you might not get normally. So, I mean, you have it in yours, I have it in mine. You can see I would say color is pretty, pretty great, but color is similar no matter what you do. Let's go ahead and take a whiff.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, baby.
That smells like candy.
So that is, a lot of people said that when rye's getting into that double digits, like that's when you start getting like bubble gum and candy, like fruity candy.
Brother, but a well-rounded though. It's not it's not tinny. You know what I mean? It's a very well-rounded sweetness. Sometimes with the candies, for me, on the nose when I get a candy, which I like, or the bubble gum, it's good, but it's tinny. It's not full and robust. This is like a full and robust candy nose to me.
Yes, 100%. I mean, and it's complementary. I mean, those rye notes are still there like that.
Yeah. You still get those notes, but
it's herbal. Like there's graininess to it, like that kind of, but like a good graininess, like some gristle to it. It's just a full, robust. Oh, God. And like you've said, you're not generally speaking like a big rye aficionado.
And complete full disclosure, I'm normally not. I'm dipping my toe into rye recently a bit more and more. But if I started with this, then I'd be a rye all day. I mean, the nose on this.
No kidding. This might, like, if you see behind me, the people at home, I put up some of my old antiques on there. I'm big fan of the Stags and the Wellers, but man, I've never gotten a bottle of Saz 18, and this year I might seek one out. All right. Well, cheers, buddy.
Cheers, my friend, and cheers to all of you out there.
Absolutely. Jace from Chicago here says you got a hell of a wall behind you.
Oh, thanks. I try to mix it up depending on what we're talking about. So I put, I put a lot of the Buffalo Trace stuff out. I got my Buffalo Trace shirt on. It's super, super soft.
Oh, yeah.
Jace is the food guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So this is incredible because you definitely get that rye spice, but that candy transfers from the nose directly to the palate. You know how sometimes we talk about we get you and I we get the nose, we're really excited, and then we take a sip and it wasn't quite there. This matches up the palate to the nose match up for me.
Yes, that's true.
With the rye, but you still get the rye spice as well.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
You definitely know it's a rye, but with that full spiciness that or that sweetness we had on the nose.
Yeah, you're right. Like so much, we get it. It often differs, but this one is like follows right through. Everything you get on the nose is there in the palate, and then some. Angus in the chat says he sees Crown Royal. I don't know if you need glasses, Angus, but there ain't no Crown Royal on the wall behind me, and it sure as hell ain't in this glass. This is some beautiful 18-year-old rye whiskey from Buffalo Trace. Brandon Shaler, also new in the chat. Thank you very much for being here. So this one, for those that don't know, I believe Buffalo Trace does not disclose their mash bill, of course. But from what everybody says, their rye mash bill is the more traditionally Kentucky rye. It's softer. It's 51% rye as opposed to like 95 or 100% rye. So you do get a little bit more of those rounded bourbon notes in there, for sure.
Are you getting this, Matt, on the finish? I'm getting like a real crisp, clean, minty finish almost on my palate after it settles. So long finish, give it like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and I'm getting this clean, crisp, like mint-like finish across my palate.
I mean,
very interesting.
Even before that, like even just on the very end of the sip, and like I've told you before, mint and like spearmint and things like that were something that took me a long time to find. And then recently, in the last 6 months or so, a lot of things, especially high rye and rye whiskeys, I've been getting, even right at the end of the sip, a little bit of spearmint starts to like come through. Finish is long.
Yes.
It just sits there.
Fresh. Like you took in a deep breath of like cool Kentucky fall air at 7 a.m. It just like is coolness across the palate, man.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I see. Angus in the chat was saying the Crown Royal's behind you, but no, those are Blanton's bags, buddy. Those aren't Crown Royal bags. Show them, baby.
Brother. Come on, brother.
Those Blantons. That's the bourbon wall, baby.
We'll let you stay in the room for now, but man.
Yeah, we don't want to boot Angus. But no, I mean, God. This would turn a non-rye drinker, though, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, and for the longest time, that was me. It's only been recently, I think maybe you had me taste a rye at one point. That was pretty delicious. I had that New Riff rye that, wow.
I just got a bottle of their regular bottled and bond rye. It's fantastic.
Well, I was at Party Source in Northern Kentucky earlier today. They've got single barrel ryes out now.
Ooh.
That I don't think I've seen before. I almost picked one up. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll pick one up. I'll send you half, and we'll have to maybe taste that. A single barrel rye.
That would absolutely be a blast. But yeah. I mean, all right. So final thoughts on Saz 18.
Again, I'm speaking as someone who normally isn't a rye drinker. I'm very impressed with this. Now, I don't know what someone that drinks rye all the time would think, but I love that the nose matches, the palate matches the nose.
Mm-hmm.
I love that clean, crisp, smooth, that finish, that minty, just that, yeah. Fresh palate.
Yeah, and like I said, at 90 proof, it's nice, not overwhelming, but you get there's a lot of these great oak note. Like, I get this grapey, it sounds bad, but I actually like it. This almost like grape medicine kind of note on old products like that. And to me, I think that's like well-aged, like oak. That's a lot of the time in the oak barrel sort of thing. So I get a lot of that on here. I typically get it on bourbons too. So yeah, this, I've only had Saz 18 once or twice before this, but man, this is one that makes me want to go out and maybe like, if I get one bottle from the collection this year, it might be this one. We'll see how the others come across.
We got 4 more to taste now, brother.
Yeah.
We got 4 more to taste. Let's calm it down.
That's true. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So
I will say real quick that this does make me want to go out and seek out other double-digit aged ryes. It makes me want to start tasting those based on what you said, your feedback. You know a lot about that, but this is impressive.
100%. But all right, so speaking of ryes, then we'll move on to the next rye, which is, hold that up for the audience. Focus in, the Thomas H. Handy barrel proof rye. Let me get the press release while Gregory pours.
Yes, sir.
So Thomas H. Handy, this you right from the press release. It's uncut, unfiltered, straight rye whiskey. Again, it's like a 51% rye mash bill. Last year scored 99 points here or there, whatever. This year's was distilled in the spring of 2014, so it's just over 6 years old. And his proof was aged in warehouse K, M, and N, and comes in at 129 proof. Ooh, dada. So hefty, almost 130.
I'm glad we eased in with the first one. I'm glad we eased in with the Saz real quick before we got into this.
Yeah, no kidding. Because the next couple, with the exception of Eagle Rare, but the Stag and the Lureweller are high proof this year as well. Jay Galinsky in the chat. Hello to Matt and Greg. Whiskey Heaven from Instagram. Thank you very much for popping in here, my friend. So this is again a rye whiskey, but here we are a little bit younger, about a third of the age. Same mash bill, but barrel proof, uncut, unfiltered. Let's take a whiff. Ooh.
I'm getting a little bit of that burn, that ethanol, but not as much as I thought at that proof.
Not for 129 proof.
I was like, I was preparing for it, but I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a little burn on there, but I mean, fresh out of the glass, and like I said, 130 proof, it's not as punchy as you'd think it would be. I feel like I'm getting more woody, like char notes from this.
Yeah, right before I was just about to speak, and you took it right from it. Yeah, absolutely. We're on the same page with that, man, for sure. Which I like, because it's kind of a juxtaposition from what we just tasted and what we just had a nose on. I like that. I like the difference.
Yeah, on the nose, it's way less sweet.
For sure. A lot more of that wood.
I'm curious where the palate's going to be, because it's bold. I get a lot of like leather, and I do get green. I get kind of herbal spices, like baking spices.
I'm definitely getting those herbal spices for sure, and the wood. Oh, yeah. This is cool. Because I'm glad we did the ryes together and then the bourbons. I'm glad we're doing it this way, because this is
I think that works out well too. Monica King in the house, one of my favorites from over on Twitch. Eric Smith, a big bourbon fan as well. Greg says your hair is on point, so cheers to Eric for that.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, all right. Well, cheers to this. Let's take a small sip at 130 proof. Let's check it out.
Woo! Woo!
Again, nice Kentucky hug on that.
Oh, yeah. Kentucky, that's a Kentucky chokehold, is what that is.
Yeah, no kidding.
Kentucky submission.
But same thing. It's not like I've had some Knob Creeks at 120 that have blown me back way more than this is.
No, that's true. That's true. This is the rye drinker's rye right here, I think, because I love the flavor on it, though, even though there's a lot of heat, but man, there's a lot of depth on the palate.
Mm-hmm. This one,
wow.
I feel like I'm getting a little bit more of those rounded bourbon notes.
Yes.
Less of those subtle sweet notes, obviously. That time in the barrel, this is only 6 years old. But like, if this were blind, honestly, I would probably guess it was a bourbon. Me.
Yeah.
I'm getting some.
Like
yeah, like caramels and vanilla corn.
Man,
it's not as herbal as some of the older ryes.
No, that's lingering too. I like that. This is.
It's not. It's bold though. It is bold.
Very good.
Tobacco,
but
char.
I'm getting the woods. I'm getting that charred oak, and it's still dancing. But you're right. That less of this is less of the sweet.
The finish is shorter too.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It hits and then goes.
It punches you in the face though when you first. So many notes on the palate when you first take that sip. But you're right. It is a little shorter in the finish. But
yeah.
Wow. This is ain't messing around.
Jay Galinsky, our friend in the chat, says, "Is bourbon similar to whiskey, as in Scotch? Drinking best with adding water or ice? Because he's not too much with bourbon, but I don't know. I would say it's the same thing like Scotch. I would say, but bourbon generally often can be a lot higher proof. So I think adding water is a little bit more common. But like with anything, I think you add a little water, you lower the proof a little bit. I think it brings out some of the subtle notes for any whiskey." All right, I'm going to do one more sip.
I'll tell you, even just after these two, I'm really starting to get curious about ryes now. Like,
right?
I think it's not as scary as you might think. Here's the truth. When I was a kid, I think I had a rye in my grandpa's basement when I was like 7. I don't think that's why I don't like rye now. That's hand to God. I think that's the truth.
Gotcha.
Because I just burning, just and that rye spice. I won't even eat rye bread to this day. Like
sure.
I think that has a lot to do with
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, man, that is bold. That's a really nice rye. I mean, I should say that according to the press release, these are all. We don't have to go ad nauseum at this, but all these bottles. Let me just make sure I'm saying this right. I don't think it says it on this release. I believe the MSRP, the suggested retail price, is $99 for each bottle.
Yep, across the board. I read that as well.
Yep. So obviously, many stores will charge a lot more than that. People like me and you, Greg, I don't. If it's secondary, I'm not really gonna look at it. I'll let it go.
Yep.
But at $99, maybe $120. These are all so far. Both of these are, I think, are worth the price of admission.
Hands down. Hands down.
But that being said, the Handy was good, but a 6-year barrel proof rye, I feel like there's probably alternatives out there for less that might be comparable.
True.
To be totally fair.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Saz 18, I don't know any 18-year ryes on the market, at all.
That's like any rye I've ever had.
And that's one of those you're not going to find. Yeah, you're not going to find any other companies releasing an 18-year rye. So like, that's the one thing I would say. I'm like, I bet you could find, even if it's craft or MGP or something, 6-year barrel proof rye. This is a very well balanced one, but I feel like you might be able to find one for maybe a little bit of a better price. But we'll see.
Yep. Yeah.
Moving right along then. Should we move on to the Eagle Rare?
Yes. I'm very excited about this one.
Eagle Rare, again, as usual, I will read from the paper. Pretty boilerplate for this one. We already know it's 17 years old, as it stated, 101 proof on the bottle, distilled in the spring of 2002. Aged on the first floor, so it's a lower floor, not a super high hot floor, of Warehouse P. Last year released, again, best of category, blah, blah, blah. But the boilerplate notes you need to know, spring of 2002, 101 proof, 17 years old. This was one of the bottles I actually did. I have it. It's on the wall back here. Eagle Rare 17 from last year. I really enjoyed it. It didn't blow me away, but I mean, I really did enjoy it. I think I'm happy they raised it from 90 proof to 101.
So Matt, this isn't the same bottle that you have then. This is the newest release,
yes.
Not the one that you have. Right?
I have 2019's release.
Oh, good. So you can do kind of like a side by side of.
So I have 2019. I have 2019 Stag and 2019 Eagle Rare. So I might do maybe on a future stream, maybe compare 29. And I have 2018 Stag. So I might go 18, 19, 20 with Stag on one of these streams. So. Keep your eyes out, folks. Jace in the chat asking when these release. Great question. It depends on your state and your market. Yeah. Some places I don't know if they've started to hit, but any week now. In Chicago, we don't see them until like December.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Late November, December. Some places see them early as like early October, late September. So.
Well, I'll tell you what. I kind of straddle two states here. I live in right on Cincinnati, right downtown. So I'm right across from Kentucky. So for you, and then also Jace, I'll keep you guys honest on what I hear on releases in Kentucky and also in Ohio.
100%.
Even Indiana, because that's right there too. So if I hear anything from those states, I'll let you know.
There you go.
So
keep an eye on at Greg Hamilton.
WWE at Greg Hamilton.
WWE, that's right. But all right.
Hey, Tony Ford too, by the way. I know we put him over already, but Tony smartens me up quite a bit on the bourbon. On like this guy, he knows when stuff drops at stores like that. So you might want to follow Tony Frank.
Tony C. Frank at Tony C. Frank on Instagram.
Is that what it is?
I believe so.
He smartens me up left and right.
There you go.
Speaking of which, today I told him there was a Blanton's barrel pick release today. 240 bottles were gone in an hour at Debs in Kentucky.
Damn.
Yeah. I actually told him, so I text Tony, told him, and we ran into each other there and both missed it. So. But if you're a bourbon aficionado and you want to know about releases, follow Tony, man. He always smartens me up for sure.
There you go.
Let's get into this.
All right. Cheers, buddy. So here we go. Eagle Rare, 17-year-old, 101 proof. Let's take a whiff. Okay.
Now, I'm getting a combination here because I'm getting those candied notes mixed in with that sort of traditional caramel and butterscotch. It's like it's a hybrid of both.
I'm getting heavy, like char tobacco kind of notes. This
and just no burn whatsoever on the note. Which
no,
I like.
not on the 100%.
A 101, you said?
101
this year. Wow. Look at that again.
So the note to me, and I'm not stuffed up today. The nose is really subtle on this one. It's not as bold or flavorful as I think last year's was.
You know what it is too, Matt? I think that Saz like smacked us in the face with that nose on the first one. So
sure.
We're a bit desensitized a little bit as well. But I'm with you. I'm not getting. It's subtle. It's there, but it's subtle. But I'm also partially blaming the fact that Saz like smacked us in the nose.
Fair enough.
But just traditional, bourbon notes, but with a hint of sweetness. But yeah, I'm getting that tobacco too.
I'm starting to get some like kind of darker fruit notes on the nose, just a little bit. But yeah, I'll say nothing. Like it's good, nothing mind blowing.
Right. Now, so, and here's what I think, for me anyway, that I want people to realize that, listen, this is the antique collection. These are the heavy hitters. So you go in with this expectation as well, right? So
true.
It's not to say that these, these aren't like, oh, it's weak. No, it's the nose is not weak at all. But this is the antique collection, so your standards just completely come here.
And you try to keep in mind, like I said, at the least, you're paying $100 for this bottle, which for a 17-year bourbon is an incredible deal. And that's if you have like the nicest retailer on planet Earth. But more likely, if you got a fair retailer, you're paying $120, $130 for a little upcharge for them. And at worst, you're paying $500, $600, $700, $800, $900 for some of these. So I'm trying to think about people anywhere in the middle. I'm like, you're working hard, or bugging people, and you're spending a lot of money.
Yeah,
you should be wowed, in a way. I think.
For sure, I completely agree.
So speaking of that, let's see if the palate matches up or takes us somewhere else.
I want to be more blown away than I am, but I could sip on this all day.
True.
Man.
So I'm getting those grape, little medicinal notes, which again, I don't hate. It's this kind of like I said, cough medicine-y kind of thing that I get with heavy oaked products. I'm getting that for sure. A little bit of leather and tobacco.
Like that like, I don't know what it keeps coming to mind, like stone, like that. I'm getting like a stone.
Like stone fruit, or like just
no, like stone,
like earthy.
Like earthy. Well, but like tinny stone. I don't. But mixed in with a little bit of the charred oak though as well. Trying to let it finish now and see if I'm getting anything else. I don't know, man. I don't. Again, because we're talking about antique collection,
right? It's like it's hard. It's hard to judge something because it's like it's good. I don't think anybody. It's one of those ones. I remember like one year, I asked my retailer. I was like, hey man, I'm Stag and Weller. Yeah. And he was like, hey, we just we had big paying clients or whatever who kind of bought us all. I can get you an Eagle Rare. I'm not upset with if I am able to get one, but so far this year, like this is my least favorite of the three so far.
Yeah, me too. To be fair, and here I might be a little bit biased as well because regular everyday Eagle Rare and Eagle Rare barrel picks are some of my favorites.
Love them.
My absolute favorite. So I guess my expectation for this is a little higher because I know how much I love Eagle Rare.
Yes.
Especially the store picks.
And yeah, even the store picks, even at just 10 years and 90 proof or whatever, they're still great.
All day.
And this is very
my expectation,
This is very nice, but as far as like a special release, leaves a tiny bit to be desired.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I would say. All right.
Let's get some water. Where are we going next?
Well, that means we've got the two heavy hitters of the crew left.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Stag is a little lower proof, but I mean, we could go. Do you want to? Where do you? I'll leave this one up to you.
Oh man. So here's the thing: like Stag gets the most play, it gets the most love. I feel like when the BTAC comes out.
Okay.
Stag gets a ton of love. I am a big fan of the William Lureweller. I even at one point called it a favor. And I don't know what I'm going to do because I have less than half left.
Nice. Which year is that?
I want to say it's 2018.
Okay. I have that one too if it's 2018.
125 proof, 125.7. Is that the one you have?
Yep. That's the same one I have.
This might be my favorite barrel on the wall.
So, Fred Minnick did, I mean, say what you want to, but he did just place it on his list. It was pretty high up, but it was on his list of the best bourbons of the 20th century so far, or the 21st century. So
yeah.
I remember that one is. I'm nursing mine too. It's a fantastic whiskey.
I have a Pappy 15 up there, which is also one of my favorites. But if there were a fire and I can only take one bottle, this is what your boy's taking.
100%.
So do you want to? Should we close with that then, just to compare? You know what I mean? Should we close with that? And just go forward with the Stag right now.
Sure, that's fine, and that'll help. We'll be going up in proof anyway to go to the end.
Okay.
So. Back to the paperwork. This year's George T Stag, favorite of many in the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, comes in after a couple years at both. I believe 2018 was like 124, and then 2019 was like 118 or 116. Last year's was 116 and a half. We are back up to the Stag people know and love at 130.4 proof. Nice heavy hitter. Last year, got a 97-point award. Ultimate Spirits, blah, 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 blah. Awards. We get it. This year's release contains barrels filled in the spring of 2005, just over 15 years old. Storage varied across warehouses L, K, and Q. And in a little nerdy note, the evaporation loss, the angel share, as some know, was a little bit higher this year in this year's batch at 59%. That was higher than the last few years. So almost 60% of the barrel's whiskey and liquid was gone. So more than half the barrel was gone from evaporation.
I was just about to say the color on this is dark. It's pretty rich. It looks,
Yep. So
color looks fantastic.
Stephanie Jasic in the house, our Benny's representative. She works for Benny's here in Chicago. Always been a big supporter of Aiden English, of Drama King, of everything like that. But huge whiskey fan. Appreciate her being in the chat. Big fan of whiskey. But yes, Greg, you are right. The color on that is pretty fantastic. So 15-year barrel proof Buffalo Trace bourbon. Let's take a whiff of this bad boy.
That's what I'm looking for from welcome to the Antique Collection, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes,
We're
absolutely.
gonna start the show now. We're gonna start the show. Now we're gonna
Yeah,
start the
now so all the people who are late to the live can
show. Now,
this is what you came for anyway. I
this,
suggest going back and watching the SAS, but
yeah,
this is what you came for, right? I mean,
it's when I think about the antique collection, for me, there's always something about the nose. There's always something about that first sip that is just so unique, and you want that when you get a bottle from the antique collection, like you want that nose that feels special. Like,
oh yeah,
like you've got a bottle from the antique collection. This is what I was waiting on. This is what I was waiting on. That nose.
it's hot. It is hot.
It is. Oh yeah, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, like it is. Whew.
But rich, just deep, rich.
Like I said, like I'm so I feel like it's bad but good. Like when my first notes aren't always like spice or fruit or this or that. I go for like shapes. I'm like deep, round, and like
Yes.
I hope that
Yes.
makes sense to people. But like yeah,
Me
man.
too. But we're just a couple of we're not quote unquote professionals. Who really is? We're just a couple guys that love bourbon. And in my mind's eye, that's what I see and feel. I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, you can tell the difference
yeah.
between something that's like it's like thin or like shallow kind of thing, but like
Flabby, watery.
yeah, but these deep,
or-
bold, like
Yes.
viscous. It's like I haven't even tasted it yet, but it's viscous.
Yeah, like I'm with you. Like that's how in my mind's eye I see and think and feel and describe those things. And this is it.
I mean,
hope it
this
God,
is
I
one
hope
of those. Like it's a little prickly on the nose from the alcohol. I will say that, but I'm feeling it's one of those that if let it be open for a few weeks, and I think we'll be good.
And the more it gets a little glass on it too, I feel like that ethanol is cooling off for me anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. There we go. Still there. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I mean,
Can I make this like an air freshener or something? Just,
no
Come on,
kidding. I
man.
want
My
this in my
whole ball.
car all the time.
I was thinking that too until you get pulled over, and then it's not a good.
Yeah.
look,
Then you smell like whiskey, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's nothing crazy like unique on there, but like man, just like rich vanilla, like cherry, pepper.
Because I was thinking the same thing. Because I felt like we're both sitting here putting it over, just going, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh." But there's
Yeah.
not one particular note that sticks out. So I don't want to sit here and say to you guys out there watching, this jumps out because there's not one. It's so balanced, but rich and bold balanced. So I can't sit here and tell you one giant note that sticks out like we can do sometimes with other bourbons we taste. It's I can't call it because it's just well rounded, man.
I will, yeah, and I will say, like, again, positive or negative, like, it's not overly layered. It's not like I'm like, oh my god, there's so much. There's a couple key. It's big, beautiful, bold bourbon.
So I'm going to give you an analogy here. Just maybe it'll make sense, maybe it won't. And hear me out. A friend of mine who is a GM for a hotel company. They were starting a restaurant in one of the hotels, and they had a couple of entrees, couple of appetizers, couple of this, and he said, we don't want to do a lot of things. We want to do a few things, but we want to do them really, really well.
Touche.
That's what this nose is. You're right. It's not rolling and with all these different things, but it's a few notes, but they're all really, really good.
Yes, 100%.
And they're equal, and it creates this incredible round balance.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. Like all the big bold, the vanillas, the caramels, the cherry fruit. Typical. I know, and I hate that note a little bit because it's like, yeah, but it's like take a typical, bold bourbon and just turn it up.
Yeah, it's the difference between watching a movie and watching it in IMAX 3D.
Fair enough.
This is IMAX 3D.
Well,
it's
let's take a taste of IMAX 3D.
Let's do it.
Mmm.
Wow. It listen, it's hot. It's hot for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
But this is what you think of when you think of that, just that perfect glass of bourbon, man.
And when you think, especially when you think of like uncut barrel proof bourbon, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That hits you. It is not for the faint of heart. We're talking just over 130. Huge Kentucky hug just covers the mouth.
But you know what, man? It's hot, but it doesn't burn. There's so much flavor there.
I will say this: it's hot. But if you were to guess, I wouldn't have said 130.
No,
I would have been like maybe 120.
Yeah, I was gonna say 115, 117, something like that.
If I were to guess.
Yeah, but I would have not said 130.
But immediately, like, full palate coverage, nice. This is the first one of all of them so far that has had that kind of drying effect.
Yes.
You know, that like a dry wine or something has, like, kind of that dries up into like into nice like stone fruits on the roof of your mouth.
Golly.
Woo.
Yeah.
Strong, strong dark fruits on this one.
I agree. Now, for me, you tell me. I agree with the dark fruits, but it punches me in the face at first with the caramel, the oak, the vanilla. Right off the bat, like as soon as it hits the palate, it hits me with that, punches me in the face, and then rolls back, and then I get some of that fruit. But that first note for me punches me in the face the moment it hits my tongue with those enhanced bourbon flavors.
I'm getting right off the bat like grape alcohol.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm getting
the vanilla is like the vanilla caramel note. That's like an undertone to me.
Wow. Even though like as soon as you take that hit your palate right away.
Boom.
Man, I see. I get those. I have it reversed where those aren't undertones for me. That hits me hard right away. But then once it settles, then I'm getting those fruits you're talking about. I definitely get that drying effect though.
More than anything we've had tonight so far.
You know, I wonder if it's something to do with Buffalo Trace in particular, because I feel like I get that with a lot of their higher end product. Like sometimes, like when I sip Pappy, the same thing. Pappy for me has that drying effect on the finish.
Could be a lot of it. Could be a mash. Could be a proof. I mean, I get that in a lot of barrel proof. I get those on a couple of Knob Creek picks and things like that. Higher proof.
Okay.
But not everything. Like I said, not everything like that. The Handy at 129 didn't really have a drying effect.
Right.
So
I like it's a characteristic that when I think about it, it's actually I associate it with high-end bourbons that I really enjoy. That drying effect for me only happens with certain bourbons, but if I think about them, they're all high quality, high-end bourbons that do that. I wonder what that is. What causes that?
Actually, you know what? That's a fun nerdy question that I would love. I want to get into. Maybe if I have somebody on here, you know, an expert or something, I'll ask them about that, because that's true. I'm with you. I get it on. I do what I feel like are like the higher end, nicer, generally higher proof too. But like you said, older, high end, and like well made. You don't get that on like a cheap everyday shelf bourbon.
Right. No, it's incredibly unique characteristic. Very, very unique. And I'm getting it on this.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, it's almost like muscle memory where it becomes reminiscent of something else that it reminds you of, and this just reminds me of higher end bourbons that I've had without going into name that have that same quality. And so I associate that with high end bourbons. I just don't know what causes it.
Yeah. Good call. Good question. Man, yeah. That is not to hit the wrestling trope, but man, that is a body slam of a bourbon for sure.
Yeah. Woo!
All right. Get your water.
Brother.
Because it is just about main event time.
Yeah, it is.
these two, the last two are always seemingly the favorite. Stag, I think you're right, is often the favorite for a lot of bourbon drinkers.
Yeah, I think our buddy Corbs is getting a bottle of that this year. He had a hook up some guy. I don't know if it's this year's though. It might be one of the past.
He's getting a bottle of everything everywhere.
And you don't
he
even need to
knows
ask
a
him
guy,
what he's
right? He knows a guy.
I've hooked him up with most of his guys. By the way.
Yeah, damn
Just
right.
throw it out their nose. I've hooked him up
right.
with most of his guys. That's true. That's a shoot, by the way. That is a shoot.
Straight shooting on Wrestling with Whiskey Weekly here, boys and girls. Right. Hell yes. All right, so one last time we'll go to the paper. William Lureweller, the Weather Line, everybody knows it by name. You see it in glass cases everywhere, from Special Reserve to 107 to Weller 12 to the foolproof and single barrel, which are now sitting behind shelves at $900. It's stupid.
Yeah.
But this is the Big Daddy once a year release. This is wheated bourbon, which means just if there's anybody new to whiskey, I know most of you are nerds like us, you know it, but bourbon traditionally has 51 or more % corn, and then the flavoring grain is rye, and then finished off with a little bit of malted barley. Wheated bourbon replaces that rye with wheat and generally gives a sweeter, softer whiskey. But this year's William Lureweller, heavily awarded, of course, in previous years. This one was distilled in the winter of 2008, so we're talking just under, technically, 12 years old, 11 and a half plus years, aged in warehouses I and C on the Buffalo Trace campus. This one, the highest proof of the bunch this year.
Really?
134.5 proof. So yes, indeed. We are talking like 67%, ABV, close to that. I won't get into the notes because we're going to find our own, but yes.
Yeah.
This is the heaviest, the highest proof, so I'm glad we're ending with this one of everything. It's not the oldest.
You're a big high proof guy too.
So
like you love a lot of the barrel proof stuff. Just from what I know, my friend.
I do, but at the same time, I'm getting more and more as my palate matures. I find like I'm with you, like the Eagle Rare. Like I love like an older bourbon at like sub 100 proof because I love picking up. Because sometimes when it's barrel proof, it's a little bit hot and heavy, and I can't get a lot of the great oak notes that I love.
Yeah.
But what I do appreciate about cask strength or like a single barrel proof, things like that, you can water it down yourself.
Yeah.
I love sipping it natural, but being able to kind of bring it down to where I want, I do like that option.
Yeah, and I love. I'm with you. Like I kind of love the science of sipping a barrel proof for a little bit, and then dropping a couple drops of water, and then taking another sip, and thinking about the complexity and the changes on the palate. So that is cool too.
Yes, 100%. So
and I have such high hopes for this right now. So excited.
So again, wheated bourbon, big proof. Let's take a whiff.
Woo!
It's hot.
Yeah.
It is hot.
Again, it's that similar on the nose to the Stag, in my opinion, that it's just well-rounded. Really hot on the nose. Hotter than the Stag, I feel.
Literally is higher proof, but it is a little bit more, there's more fire. There's a little bit more alcohol burn, I will say.
Yeah.
But there's some nice, subtle, even though it's younger than the Stag, there's some like subtle, I can give you some soft grain notes in there. I can get corn. Like I get corn on the nose almost.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of the corn, the grassy notes. I'm not getting any sweetness whatsoever. It's more of the earth tones that I'm getting on the nose.
Yes.
First.
So, like I said, weeded bourbons are generally like softer and sweeter, and I like Weller Special Reserve. I think is a great example of that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm with you on the nose. I'm not getting a lot of sweetness. I'm not getting a lot of sugary kind
No.
of sweet notes.
There's no frills when it comes. No
No,
frills on that.
true.
Okay. Ethanol starting to die down a little bit.
Yep,
You're getting more of the actual bourbon itself.
I'm getting a lighter, like a little bit of like that champagne kind of like apple, like
Okay,
sweet
yeah.
note, just a little bit.
Hmm.
Yeah, like a light crisp fruit.
Yep.
Still it's still bold.
It is. I
still
mean,
there.
that's the thing, you can't get away from that.
Yeah, even though I'm with you, the initial heat has died down, but like you take a big whiff, it's still
Yeah, it's still there.
134.5.
Wow. What did you say the age was on this again?
Just shy of 12 years.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, like it hasn't had a ton. It's not 14, 15. It's not in the where it's had enough time to really like die down. I feel like when it gets into the teens, bourbon generally kind of hits some of those really mature, grapey, oaky notes.
Mm-hmm.
11 years, especially at barrel proof. Like, again, if this were proof down to like maybe 100, 110, we might get
Yeah.
some of those more oaky notes, but this still has that full force
Yeah.
and it might cover up a little bit of those little more subtle notes.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's that, yeah, that fire is just sort of covering up some of those other notes, which isn't a
100%.
bad thing. If you like a
No.
barrel proof, that's what happens. I mean, it's what
Right.
it is.
So let's see if the palate follows through. Main event time. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers to you.
Cheers to the chat. Cheers to the Wrestling with Whiskey community. Appreciate you guys being here.
Mm. That's what Daddy was waiting on. How is this that high of a proof when it tastes that? It's, bro, this does not taste like it's 130 something.
I mean, it's again, I'll say it's hot.
Yeah,
But-
I'm not sitting here telling you it's 85 proof. You can definitely tell it's hot, but I mean, the bottle that you and I have is 125.7. This is higher proof than that, but you would never know it.
By 10 proof points.
Yes, by 5%. 10 proof.
So-
I mean,
This is on par, like I said, like with maybe like a knob barrel pick, like 120-ish. If I were to
Yeah.
get, I would think if I were to guess blind. Man, super big drying. As soon as
Yes.
it hits the roof of my mouth, like it absorbs into the roof of my mouth.
yeah, and again, I want to know what that is. I want to know what causes that. I want to know why that is, because again, this is another
Different mash bill.
Maybe.
But I mean,
Could
no,
be.
but I guess I'm saying
Well,
the
it is.
Stag had it, and this had it. I wonder if it's like high proof corn because, like I said, that the barrel proof handy didn't really have it, and that's mostly rye. So I wonder if
Right.
the fact that these are, I think Buffalo Trace bourbon, again, they don't know. I think it's typically in that 70-something% corn. So when you get corn at barrel proof, that high of a proof, maybe that's where the drying effect comes in. I don't know.
I don't either, but this only reinforces what we were talking about earlier. It just completely reinforces it because it's the same thing. And I associate this now with these other bourbons that I hold in such high esteem, and rightfully so. But man, this is God. What is that on the front?
Ooh. I feel
It's
it in my
heavy.
nose
Yeah.
a little bit. The proof gets to my nose a little bit, but like you can tell it's weeded. Like there's a note that I get with barrel proof weeders. Again, I'm with you. I have a hard time identifying it. I'm like, what exactly is it?
I mean, is it like a burnt sugary oak?
maybe a little bit because it's not inherently like again like fruity or sweet. The funny thing is
No,
everyone talks about Weeders being like sweeter, but I'm like, I don't know.
no,
I get the
I agree.
softness and less like herbal baking spice than like a rye based bourbon.
Yeah,
But I don't honestly, I think regular bourbons are a little bit more traditionally sweet
yeah,
in
yeah.
my opinion.
No, I'm with you, and I don't necessarily take this as sweet.
Mhm.
It's it punches you in the face again. Burnt sugar, but not sweet like bubblegum sweet. It's bourbon sweet. It's burnt sugar. It's oak. It's deep, rich caramel, but not sweet sweet. It's a richness. Um,
Super dry.
but that finish, that dry finish, yeah, man. Like it's just what is that?
I
Somebody
mean,
out there
this is
was
moving. This is moving like from my lips to the front, all the way to the back. It's not sticking in one place. Huge
right.
Kentucky hug. Beautiful spice. This one, ooh,
So here's what I think I love about this, and I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but this one hits. There are receptors on the back ends of your tongue, the back sides, like near your
sure,
molars, that are they taste different flavors and tastes than the middle of the tongue does, and it's hitting that, and that
okay.
is and that's so unique for me for a bourbon, for a whiskey. Like it's hitting the back edges of my tongue near the molars, and that's very unique. Like those receptors for me don't normally pick up much, um, but this is hitting. I mean, it's yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I'll have to call in a favor on this one.
Like I said, like yeah, I'm getting big caramel sugar, like and burnt. Like is it crispy? Like
Yeah,
charred sugar. So
yeah,
it's not overly
caramelized sugar.
sweet, but yes, there's that char.
Like when you take a creme brulee and you pour sugar on the top, and then you take the torch and you torch it.
Ooh,
Like that's what I'm getting. I'm getting that torch brulee, that
yes.
brulee sugar.
Food guy for the win.
Yeah, I'm a food nerd. I can't help it.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm
No,
getting
that's a
brulee
great
sugar for
point
sure.
though. Like that, just that top layer of a creme brulee, where it's like you bite into it, and it's kind of bitter from the char, but like it's still sugary sweet.
That's it. It's that's what I'm getting. A brulee. That's man.
I will say like, so the stag might have been tiny, like bit more, but traditional and like I really enjoyable. But this has a lot more going on.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Whew.
Totally agree. That's man. What the hell am I going to drink tonight now if we just did a Buffalo Trace Antique Collection tasting? What am I supposed to drink now for the rest of the night?
I mean, you just drank some 129 proof, some 130.4 proof, some 130, whatever it is. Make it light.
Yeah, right.
Get you
But
something 85 or 90 proof.
seriously.
Um,
So,
that
what
is
do you and what are your thoughts on the overall lineup this year? I mean, you're a guy that does a lot of tastings. You get invited to a lot of things, and you do a
yeah.
lot. What do you think, man, for this year's collection?
So I'll say this immediately, and I don't remember. I don't remember what other people have said, but I do agree. Man, immediately, Saz 18 and William Lureweller jump out to me.
Yeah, me too. Me
The
too.
other three in the middle, we started with one and ended with the other, but the other three in the middle are nice. The handy was like, again, I'm with you too. I'm not traditionally a big, huge rye guy, but handy
Right.
was nice and barrel proof. For 2029, it drank nice, but the three in the middle were solid, but not
Yeah.
mind blowing. But the Saz 18, just like at 18 years, 90 proof brought out the subtlety, and there was a candied sweetness that was really, really impressive. And the Weller, even though it wasn't super old, 11 and a half years old or so, just with that weeded mash bill and a barrel, that high proof, it was hot, but man, there was a lot going on. So,
Yeah.
and that's what I feel like I'm being drawn to lately is like, what has like a lot going on, like X, Y, Z, W, Q, P, Q, R, S. Um, The others had bold, great, everything was on key, but man, Saz and Weller had a lot going on. What about you, buddy?
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. I would say any of these, if you found any of these for the retail price or a little more,
Sure.
buy it. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Get it. But man, that Saz was probably one of, I don't want to use extremes here, so I don't want to say one of the most unique whiskeys, period, I've ever tasted.
To be fair, like if I'm gonna pick one, that was my favorite this year.
I agree because it's so unique. Now the Weller was just, man, it's what you want from a very if you're looking for a special bottle, something to celebrate, something of that nature, man. And you're strictly bourbon, seek out that William Lureweller, man.
Yeah, true.
But that Saz, man, I tell you, I'm with you. If somebody said you can pick one and only one, like imagine sharing that Saz with other friends who want to come over and do tastings. That's gonna blow socks off.
100%.
It's just so unique, and you wouldn't think we'd be sitting here saying that about the lowest proof of the lineup, right?
The lowest proof?
He would ever say that.
The lowest proof, and from two traditional bourbon guys.
Yeah, well, that too. We've been both admittedly not rye guys at all. Dipping the toe in the water in the shallow one a little bit, but not. And so that in itself is a testament to what we're talking about, right? Because
100%.
We're not rye guys yet. We're both like, hey, if you can find that Saz 18.
So not to like belabor a point, but rye is starting to fascinate me because as a lot of us have seen, ryes typically they mature faster than bourbon. So like you see a lot of like 2-year ryes on the market. A rye at 4 years tastes a lot more mature than a bourbon at 4 years traditionally. It just seems to kind of mature and age and reach that point a little bit faster than bourbon.
Right, fair.
But then again, like we were just saying, when it hits those double digits, it keeps getting better with age. I don't know, like I'm starting to think, I'm like, is rye whiskey a superior grain and a superior mash than like bourbon? Bourbon might be more like, maybe bourbon's just more like temperamental and subtle and just needs to find that perfect balance. But rye, man, really benefits. You can find a great one at 2 years, and then you can find a phenomenal one at 18, 20 years. It's interesting.
Yeah. It is. And this definitely, we'd already talked about this, but just sort of dipping our toe in the water when it comes to rye. I'm excited to try some ones that are out there. But after trying this, I'm with you. I want to go with some double-digit age ryes and just see what I can find. I don't even know how prevalent that is because you're right. I mean, a lot of these ryes that are out there that are popular. I mean, I know Peerless is one of the most popular, isn't it?
Sure.
Like, the age on that's maybe a couple years. I mean, what's the regular Saz? What's that you buy? The Saz rye. What's the normal one? What's the age?
Sazerac rye is probably, I think, is kind of like It's kind of like Thomas Handy. I think it's like 5-6 years.
Yeah. So if we, this definitely has piqued my curiosity.
Yeah, 100%.
Is that
the other thing I've been finding, and if you do, again, not to belabor, but like if you do jump into the difference and the interesting notes between like the Kentucky ryes, which are typically, they're right at that 51% rye threshold. Yeah. And then you go and taste like New Riff, I believe, is either 100 or 95% rye.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in the herbal and like experimenting notes in the high rye, like the pure ryes, it's interesting to kind of compare and contrast those two. So if you haven't, I suggest trying both like a Pikesville, 51% Kentucky rye, and then like a New Riff or I believe Willet is higher rye, and a lot of the Pennsylvania, Maryland ryes are more 100% pure ryes. It's interesting.
Wow.
Oh, well, Sardog in the chat says regular Saz is right around 4 years.
Okay. And I think that's where I first started. Someone recommended when I first started to try ryes. I think it might have even been Tony who said, "Hey, try the Sazerac. That'll
Sure.
get you started." And I think that's a good gateway to rise for
Yeah,
people.
I
Just
think so too.
not expensive. It's accessible. It's not gonna, you know, burn your nose hairs off.
Yeah.
But I can't get over the fact that you and I, two guys that are big bourbon guys, and here we are putting over the rye as probably our favorite of the collection this year.
Yeah, no kidding.
The Weller just, I mean, always blows your socks off. But
It's
I did not expect the reaction from that SAS 18 that I had, that you had. I did not expect that whatsoever.
100%. Very impressive. So a lower, like, it's funny, yeah, a lower proof old rye, and then like a super high proof weeded bourbon. Those, I think, are your stars of the collection this year.
Yeah.
Man, like, if you're in Chicago, buy everything but SAS 18. Just, yeah, buy the Eagle Rare, buy the Stag, blah 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 blah.
Hey, one thing I do want to mention too, because I know how excited you were for Buffalo Trace to see your worth and include you this year. You know, I live in Cincinnati. I gotta just want to say for people out there, they do a hell of a tour if you ever are in that area.
Sure.
And they're only about an hour 15 minutes south. Buffalo Trace Distillery is about an hour 15 south of Cincinnati. My personal recommendation: do the hard hat tour. You can schedule it online, but you have to schedule it ahead of time, like a few weeks out. It's the one that goes the quickest, but it is a hell of a tour.
I hear. I have yet to tour Buffalo Trace. Actually, I've been to several of the others, but like, I hear. Yeah, I know.
Come on down, brother. Let's go.
Well, hey, that's a perfect segue, because hopefully we'll be doing something like that for the Wrestling with Whiskey Single Barrel Club.
Yeah,
I would be remiss if I didn't shout that out. We've been doing, we've been building membership. We're close to 60 members in the Wrestling with Whiskey Single Barrel Club. Check out Wrestling with Whiskey on Instagram to see a little bit more about the press releases. But it's patreon.com/wrestlingwithwhiskey. We are available. We will be available in 30 states. We already have a Woodinville pick lined up. Samples are in the way in a couple weeks. We're talking right now. I don't know if you've seen me post about this, Greg, but we're talking right now with 1-8 Distilling out of Washington, D.C. They are offering us. Oh yeah, they're offering us They've got some really cool stuff in the single barrel program while they're distilling their own stuff. But right now they're offering us a 10-year weeded bourbon finished for 2 years in a Calvados, which is like a French brandy barrel. So though we're looking into the possibility of getting that. We're talking to Old Elk. We're talking to Journeyman. Talking to Heaven Hill. So we got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. So patreon.com/wrestlingwithwhiskey. $5 a month. You're in the club. Again, check the website. See the 30 states that we can fulfill. Hopefully we'll expand to more soon. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that. But yeah, hopefully we'll do a Buffalo Trace. We could do a Buffalo Trace. We could do an Eagle Rare maybe.
I'd love
Weller. I want to do a 107, even more than a full proof, I think. But we'll see.
One thing I wanted to ask you, and I'll ask you. I don't mean to put you on the spot here live in front of everybody, but so I've been talking to people about the Wrestling with Whiskey Patreon and what we're doing and what you're doing and the barrel picks. And here's the biggest question I get back when I mention it to people. So you tell me, not to put you on the spot.
No, please.
Like, especially where, I live in bourbon country pretty much. People want to know if they can be a part of the pick at some point. Is that a thing that you think going forward as this unfolds with Wrestling with Whiskey, if folks wanted we're on Patreon, we're subscribed and we're a part of the club, is there or will there be at some point an opportunity for them to come with us to pick barrels?
So absolutely. My hope, so right now, many of the distilleries are not hosting in-person barrel picks, just with the, with the situation, of course. Some are, and so if we do those, that we'll talk about that then. But hopefully over the course of the next few months and everything, and to be fair, a lot of them, I'm dealing with like craft distilleries who are in Washington or Washington State or California or Oregon or something like that, where it's not as easy to access as like Kentucky. But as we get to some of those more traditional Kentucky distilleries, 100%. I plan to, invite, because right now, Greg, you're invited to every single one when we go, absolutely. But that's only the two of us, right? So there's room for, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people if they're willing to come and make the trip, or if they live in the area, absolutely. Also, but I did want to say this too. I've said this to my patrons. In the meantime, when we get some of those further away distilleries, or when I get samples sent to me, which is what we're doing kind of in the current climate, I am absolutely up for the idea of sampling some of the samples that are sent to me, like bottling those out and mailing them to patrons, and then picking live on the stream on YouTube like we're doing right now.
You read my mind. I was just going to say, maybe is there an opportunity for people to either follow along as you're tasting them, to pick the barrel and have them vote on the barrel kind of deal?
So I plan, if I can't go to the distillery, and film that and kind of make some videos out of that, then if I'm getting samples sent to me or to the store, I for sure want to do it's going to be picked. We're going to be picking live on air for sure. And so at the very least, we'll be doing that. And then also I'd like to, maybe pick 1 or 2 patrons, invite them onto a Zoom call like we're doing now, put them on the stream live, and then we'll all taste together, and we'll pick the barrel. You know what I mean? And we'll rotate between different patrons and things like that. So at the very least, we'll do that. And then when we could be picking in person again, we'll be inviting people along for sure.
That's awesome. Because that's, to be honest, like that's when I mentioned to people, that's kind of the question I get. People want to be a part of what you're doing. They,
Yeah. And I want
like taking notes in the palette, and they want to be a part of it.
100%. And I want, like, I'm not trying to like do this as like a hook, but
no, it's.
But no, I want to invite people that I know from my professional experience, whether that's, you and Baron Corbin, people from the wrestling world who are into whiskey. So people would get a chance to hang out with the 3 of us and, maybe talk some wrestling, talk some whiskey. It might be a fun experience. Or from the bourbon world, I might be able to get, grouchy old Fred Minnick to come join us on a pick. He does that stuff all the time. You know what I mean? But kind of bring that aspect, bring people I've met in my professional career in on the picks, and then invite, a patron or 2 along with us, so we can kind of just have a great time all together.
Cool. I'm looking forward to that, man. I know it's something that you worked really hard on this. I hope that people realize I'm not trying to just put you over here, but this is something you've worked really, really hard on from day one, before it was anything. This started as a hobby, man, and I think this is obviously becoming a lot. I mean, how many people have the antique collection sent to them? Obviously, you're becoming a trusted voice and a trusted palate in the whiskey world, man. And I'm excited to come and do these picks with you. And I mean, I know other people must be as well, because
hell yeah,
it's fun, and you just get it. And I think again, it's approachable, man. Not everybody's approachable with their bourbon and their whiskey, but the way that you present it and the way that you do things and run things that we taste, like, it's going to be fun. Those picks are going to be pretty cool. They will.
And that's what I'm excited to, because, like, we're talking to the big Kentucky guys, the Heaven Hills, the Beams, the Sazeracs and Buffalo Trace. But man, I'm getting a lot of, like, feedback and all this from, like, really cool craft distillers. Like I said, like Old Elk, Journeyman here in Michigan,
Nice.
Woodinville. Like, there's really cool people doing stuff at the craft level, whether it's sourced or not. New Riff, we always love to work with.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say that, bro, like, the rest of the Whiskey Mania 3 is going to be coming up sooner than you know it. So if any of your patrons get to come on that pick,
we will absolutely be talking about that and stuff. So, but yeah, so, like, there's a lot of exciting things coming for sure. And so be on the lookout. Again, I'll put it one more time, patreon.com/wrestlingwithwhiskey. Otherwise, follow at Wrestling with Whiskey on Instagram, Twitter, so on and so forth.
So, well, listen, thank you for including me in this, brother. Really, really appreciate it. And I can't wait to do more of this and just continue to watch this grow and grow. I mean, first two barrel
Absolutely.
picks you did, I mean, all you got to do is ask Eric Bowman and Cork and Bottle Man. Like that to me is when I knew you had something special here, because those wrestling with whiskey picks and the way that those sold, and not just the way that they sold for Cork and Bottle, but the reaction,
Yeah.
like the feedback to those bottles, for people to say I've had 10, 20 different single barrels from New Riff, and that was by far in my top three. Like that's when I knew you had something special, and like this is what you're supposed to be doing. Like, brother, you get it, and you just, I don't know, your palate's incredible, man.
I'm trying. We're working on it. But I appreciate that. I appreciate you're, like I said, you're one of my most trusted, confidants and cohorts in this whole game
Sure.
and everything like that. So I appreciate it. Yeah, no, Greg, if you don't mind, stay on the line really quick. I'll talk to you in a second, but I'm going to do a little outro for the people here, and everybody say bye to Greg. Thank you very much. And
Thank you, guys.
like I said, I'll talk to you in a second. All right, everybody. Awesome tasting the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. It was really cool being able to share that with you guys. Thank you so much for being here. All the usuals who came out. LJ's in the house. Sardog's in the house. Michael was in the house. We appreciate you guys coming out here. Once again, Wrestling with Whiskey Instagram. It's right there below me. Check it out. Long episode today, but we tasted through 5 of the most exclusive whiskeys on the planet today. A lot of appreciation for Greg's insight. A lot of appreciation for the show. We appreciate you guys, and come check us out. We will see you on the next stream. Wrestling with Whiskey Weekly coming to you next week like usual.